Cheerio, good day, uh, aloha, how's it going? All that other shit. Welcome to the Cybernetic Séance Podcast. I am your host, Ryan Laney, aka Ryan Frankenstein, aka Nexus, that guy with the chrome mask from the band Our Frankenstein. Welcome. This is episode 6, I think. I think we're at episode 6 here. Damn. And I still haven't got my shit together. This is the lousiest podcast on YouTube, Facebook, wherever the fuck we broadcast. I think we're on Twitch now. I don't know. Anyway, welcome, guys. I hope you guys are doing great. We got a really cool show with you guys today. We got an awesome guest. But before we get to that guest, we got a couple announcements here. We got a little bit of news, as they say. In case some of you guys do not know, Our Frankenstein is coming back for a special headlining performance in Downey, California. In case some of you guys do not know where the fudge that is. I'm saying fudge because I'm trying to keep my cursing sparse here. Big Brother's watching on YouTube, so I'm trying to... So, we got a show coming up October 15th, special headlining show at a Club Terminal in Downey, California. That's basically LA, for some of you guys who do not know. We have an awesome opening band, The Androgen. Good friend of mine. Did a few shows with him before. Brutal industrial black metal type shit. You guys will love it. I also got DJ Terminal, Revenant, and Terror. Doors open at 9:30. You must be 21 or older, so don't bring your fucking kids to this thing. I swear to God. It's a good show. Besides that, I'm going to plug my merch right here up front. Get that shit out of the way. So in case you guys don't know, we got a little sale going on, but don't take my word for it. Let's just watch this. Ooh, you like that? That took me like 5 minutes in iMovie on my cell phone. Anyway, yeah, we've got some merch coming on. So yeah, I think we got a link here somewhere I can post. Yeah, Store Frontier. Check it out. storefrontier.com/Our Frankenstein. Limited summer merch. We got some tank tops up there right now that we're not gonna have much longer. I think once October 1st hits, cutting that shit out. So get it while you can, and we have all sizes. So small or large, big or tall, we got you covered, boys and girls and everyone else. Anyway, I'm done talking here. Let's get right to it. Our guest here today is the lovely, oh so beautiful Zer0. Woo! Let's pretend we have a sound machine. I'm still too ghetto for that shit.
How's it
What's
going?
up, man?
It's going, man. How you doing?
Beautiful. It's good to see your face again. It's been a few months.
I know it's been too long, brother.
So, for my viewers, listeners, whatever you're doing, in case none of you guys know who Zer0 here is, can you give us a crash course on who you are, what you do, what you're a part of?
Of course. So I'm a touring musician. I've been doing this ever since I was 19. I'll be 36 in October. You may have seen me in bands from, like, if you're from the Midwest area, Exiting the System. Then from there, I went to Motograder, Losing September, doing my own project, Shadowson again. And then, going out with some other bands and everything like that. And obviously, me and Ryan know each other because we were just off of the Road to Hell tour with Seven Factor, Our Frankenstein, and Cyclone 9. So, yeah, I mean, it's been great, man. I've made a lot of good and bad decisions over the course of my musical career. But, on top of that, from the music side of things, I also own a company called Main Stage Music Group, where I help up and coming artists or just starting out musicians, just kind of learn and understand the business of music before they try and make the decision to go into the music business. So, yeah, more or less just a businessman and a music person, pretty much just wrapped into one.
A jack of all trades, if you will.
Yeah, minus sit down drums. I can't sit down and play drums. I can do stand up percussion, but I cannot sit down and play drums, period.
No, that's okay, man. I'm right there with you. I don't have that coordination. It's like patting your head and rubbing your stomach or whatever at the same time.
Right. Exactly.
Hey, props to drummers that sit down though. You
Oh
guys
yeah.
are beasts. So shit, man. Tell us about some of your projects. I have a music video of yours loaded in here already. Can you tell us about the project Shadowsyn?
Yeah, so Shadowson started years and years ago, back in 2007. I was living in Massillon, Ohio at the time. It was kind of just a small random idea to just see how it would go. I had a keyboard player and a bass player, and I was the front man and then wrote the music. And then after we did like one show, we opened up for a Rocky Horror Picture Show at the Lincoln Theater in Massillon, Ohio, funny enough.
Oh
Um,
shit.
yeah. And so, I mean, that was fun. I always love, I'm a big Rocky Horror Picture Show fan. So, just being able to, have a show and stuff like that was cool. And then, I did the free agent thing for a long time. And then, so I pretty much put Shadowson on the back burner. And then after I finished the last tour I did with Motivator when we were on tour with Orgy, I started writing again randomly. I would be like, in the van with my laptop. And, I hadn't had the motivation or the inspiration, I guess you could say, to do it prior to then. And I think that was just from trying to either, not really spread myself too thin, but just trying to put myself in different areas. And then,
Right.
when I started writing, from 2018 to present day, I just had I from playing in bands to where like there was one band I was the front man for, and then I, did like instrumentation for other bands. And then after all those years, I was like, okay, I realized I had something to say, so like when you mentioned the music video, it was kind of funny when we were putting the music video together. I'm living out here in California. I started the project of the rebirth of Shadowson in Indiana. So I've got, two members from there. I've got a member out here in California, which is the former member of Motivator Skunk, who was the Motivator player. And then I had Rocky from Florida, who was the other guitar player. And so, flew everybody in and everything for our music video for Sideshow. And it was funny because we were in contact with the place that we shot the video at, but we only had pictures of what they had online. So it looked relatively not small, but just maybe like one story, a couple rooms. That's it. We show up day before we start shooting, and we've got like 46,000 square feet, 2 stories, and just so much area to work with. So I stayed up from the time that we flew in to about 9 a.m. when I passed out on like those little trolley carts. And I set up pretty much all the candelabra room, the dirt room with like all the plastic around it that you'll see in the beginning. And the music video is kind of based off of what I've experienced in the music industry. So the reason why it's called Sideshow is, you grow up in the, when you're younger and you're looking at magazines and everything, and you're like, I want to do this, and you see all these big bands and like they're on the like posters and stuff like that, but what you really don't recognize is all the BS that they have to deal with on the back end. And so pretty much it was when I got into Motivator about, or maybe halfway through the exiting the system period, is when you start working with management companies or labels and stuff like that, or you start getting offers and things like that. So I started to see the fabrication, if you will, of the music industry. So this music video was kind of based around that, and I used my members to kind of be the actors in different scenarios. So we kind of took like the pain from each of our experiences and we put it into a music video. So my bass player, for example, he was addicted to gambling. So there was the scene where we're minus me, but everybody's at this like half moon table and like they're kind of gambling and drinking and stuff like that. Rocky was, like the movie star, person and everything like that. So he was kind of like, egotistical and narcissistic. My guitar player, who was the Motivator player Skunk, he came in and filled in as the touring musician that, he wants to have a family life, but, when you're this deep into the industry, like you really don't have a say in that, sad as it is to say. So in the video, we had our bass player's son, Eli, who literally the best actor of that entire video. At such a young age, like literally he took like 2 takes for his his segment.
Oh man.
Yeah. So there's like a scene where you'll see our guitar player walk up, and he's got his guitar in his hand and everything. He's walking out, and it is the storyboard element to like he's showing up late to pick his kid up from school, and Eli's sitting there and he's like waving at his dad and everything, and then it shoots to the pretty much the lens of the glasses that he's wearing. It says dream sequence, and that's what we all try and do. We all try and live the dream. And so when you see the dream sequence activate, he turns around and walks the other way, and in a metaphorical sense of stating that, you can want to be home, but when the tour calls or when your name's signed onto it or signed onto a dotted line, then that's where you got to go. And so you kind of see him walk away, and like, Eli's hand starts going from a happy, wave to a sad kind of drop down and everything. So I just wanted to kind of use that music video as my kind of middle finger to the music industry, in a sense of like, and not to discredit the music industry because it's given me a lot of opportunities. So I'm using that little middle finger aspect and stating that, best way I could describe it is Paul Stanley said it best from Kiss when he said there's just as many people out there in the music industry willing to take your money as much as you're willing to make money. And, you get a lot of people out there that will try and like, they'll boost the ego. They'll tell you everything that you want to hear and everything. And at the end, it can either destroy you as a person trying to deal with all of it, or they can destroy you personally by you just not knowing what's ahead of you.
Absolutely. Man. So that is Sideshow. I guess we're getting in on this early because we sort of really got into the subject here. I'm going to play that music video. So do you have anything to say before we introduce this music video here? Besides what everything you just said.
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, just, I hope you guys enjoy the video. And I know like in a music video, you have to take a storyboard. We shot this video for like 3 days. So taking 3 days and compiling it into like, 3.5, 4 minutes, and then trying to explain a storyline, it does take a lot. So I do appreciate you giving me the time to explain this, because I have had people being like, I love the music video. It looks good and everything. What were you trying to say? And I kind of get what you were saying in the lyrics. And so maybe this will give a little more perspective, I guess, into what this video is all about. So, yeah.
There you go. Well, without further ado, Sideshow from Shadowsyn. Enjoy. Sideshow by Shadowsyn. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you're just tuning in to the live feed right now, you are watching the Cybernetic Séance Podcast. Look at that. I was about to say it wrong, but I said it right. Our lovely guest here today is Zer0 of Shadowsyn, Seven Factor, Cultus Black, and more. More. So there you go. The man of the jack of all trades, the man of jack of all trades. I don't even know what the fuck. I can't even speak right now. That was Sideshow by Shadowsyn. Say that 10 times fast. Oh man, I really like the whole aspect of like you're on like a throne. It's almost like you're on like display, like some sort of like I don't know, like some sort of spectacle. Was that part of the analogy at all in any way?
Yeah, because I wanted to use so when I created the candelabra scene that you were talking about, I wanted to be a darker version than like you'll see what I call the dirty room. So like there you'll see like a few people in the crowd, and what was cool is like my cousin Kyle Price. He was actually before that video I hadn't seen him in years, so it was cool to have like a family member in the music video. So that was really cool. And it was funny when we were doing the music video because it was during like the COVID times. We had a huge response of like because we put a post out saying that we needed extras for the video, and we had like 150 people showing like saying that they wanted to join in on the video. I'm like, shit. So we sent or my bad, shite. But we sent it to the lady that was owned the building, and she was like, we can't have that many people, like just due to the regulations and everything, and so it came like less than 10. So we're like, okay, well, we'll still make it work. And so we grabbed like a couple friends that we knew. I grabbed obviously my cousin Kyle and everything, and they were in that scene. And then I wanted to do a dichotomy. So if you see me in the dirt room, I just have like the scar over one eye, and then you see me in the candelabra room, and it's completely like different, more darker. The outfits changed, the makeup's changed, and everything. And I wanted that to be a display. And if you watch, like as you see in the music video, there's certain areas to where it looks like the members are getting marionetted in a sense by my movements and everything like that. And so pretty much my replica or resemblance of that scene was towards that dark side of the music industry. It's like I control you. I literally make sure that you do everything that you do. And then as you see in the scene where they're in the what looks like the casino area, and they're playing cards and everything, and then the cards wipe across the front, and I'm taking the glasses off and putting it on them and everything. And so I just try to use this with Shadowsyn. It's always been a thing to where for me, because I write all the music, I write the guitars, I write the bass, I program the drums, do the vocals, and everything like that. So the biggest way I could say that Shadowsyn means something to me is because I go to war with myself. I have, just like all of us do, we have like this yin and yang approach to what we do, and sometimes you got to keep the black from bleeding over. And so I wanted to write an album to where it's like I've been able to see the dark sides of myself that's bleeding over into where it doesn't need to be. It's crossing territory that it doesn't belong. And I use Shadowsyn as a way to just express that, because to me, music has always been therapy. I never went to see a therapist or anything like that, because the first time I got on stage, I was able to let loose, the pain, the anger, and as a frontman, you understand what I'm talking about. So with doing all that, I wanted to, just open myself up to whoever was willing to listen. That if you ever want to get to know anything about me, just listen to my music, because I can go and I can play for other bands and do all this stuff, and I'd be a representation of that music or of that vocalist or whatever. But for Shadowsyn, I wanted it to be almost kind of like an open book, to where it's like my self therapy became just being accountable of not only my failures and my bad decisions, but also of my pain and my anguish and everything that I've dealt with, and being able to finally now put it out into the open and just let it go instead of just holding it in like I normally do.
Right. I want to ask, like, because I was watching that video just now, and with the glasses sequence, was there any like reference to They Live, the movie at all?
No, as good a movie as that is, no. I was trying to figure out a way to where there was like this hypnotism between like the members when we're changing out between like the scenes of like the screenplay element to the live performance.
Yeah.
And, yeah, and so I was like, okay, well, I could do like black sclera contacts and everybody, but that on top of the cost, let alone like trying to put contacts in, it's a pain in the ass as well. And a lot of my members have never like been in makeup or anything like that until they joined my band. So like I've already put
Right.
it
Right.
and so I was like, okay, well, I've got these programmable glasses that I can put some stuff on. So I was like, all right, so we went and got batteries, and I'm like, I'm just gonna put dream sequence here, and I'm gonna put it on your guys' eyes. That way, you guys don't have to worry about contacts.
Hey, I'm here for it, man. I'm all about the cyberpunk and all that shit.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah, no, man, that's a fucking sick video. I mean, so you have this project. Where can people find it? Like, are there more songs, or is there anything else people can find from this project?
Yeah, so when we did this video, so this project's been almost like 2.5 years going right now. So as far as the rebirth, right? I've went through one producer, and we took a lot of time on top of my busy schedule and his busy schedule. Like it was just hard to coordinate as quickly as like if you hear bands talk about releasing an album and stuff like that compared to like the one-on-one with them and the producer. So that's pretty much kind of what happened with that. And then like my producer went through his own personal stuff and everything like that. So I'm actually going to be going through a new producer right now to finish the album. There is more songs. I just haven't got them to the point of the mastering quality yet. So I've got them, they're done, they're mixed to a degree. And so I just want to get them like finalized and done. So like one that I'll go ahead and release now. And since I haven't talked about this previously, so this is going to be an exclusive straight for this podcast. So the next music video is going to be called The Monster Inside. So the Monster Inside is pretty much, I wrote this song, honestly, probably about 6 weeks ago. But it was weird because when I was writing the song, it was like no plan of, I was just, playing around on my, in my studio. And when I was writing it, I just got really attached to the song, like to the degree of what that music video was. I had the theme, the aesthetic, the whole storyboard, like everything came into play as I was writing this song. So this music video slash song is going to be a homage to Tim Burton, the Cell movie, and serial killers. So it's gonna have a even darker twist because even after like watching the video from Sideshow, it's kind of like a reflecting of looking back and being like, okay, well, there's even darker parts. Like this was probably like the medium rare version of what I could put out there, and I've got a lot of other songs that are going to be released. Especially one other music video on top of that will be for Damage. But this one I wanted to get out next because this one is going to be a little bit more melodic. But for me, how I grew up from like the music I listened to like the movies I watched to the person I am now, I think all of those different elements, the way I'm going to do the music video, is going to make a lot of sense. And also too, it's just going to be fun for me to just have something to play with. Sideshow was more encompassing with like, here's the band, here's our video, here is our crazy production that we threw together. But this one is going to be it's not going to be really band influenced or whatever. It's just going to be like me telling a story and taking all those different elements that influenced me throughout the years and kind of like I was saying, paying homage to that, and just in respect to that on top of just giving new content out because it's been a minute with me being as busy as I've been playing in other bands and stuff like that. I still get messages to this day on the Shadowson feed, when are we going to get a show? When are we going to get it, another music video and or just something? And, and my own personal accountability with going out and playing with other bands and stuff like that, which is what I do. But, I do have a credence to what I create. And I think I semi lost track of that, getting as busy as I did. So I think not only do I owe it to myself, but I also owe it to the fans out there to give them something more and bring this more to life than just a visual quality that you'll see on a screen.
Right, right. Because I was gonna ask that next was when can we expect a Shadowson show?
Yeah, so pretty much right now we're in a fast track. So with that is I'm sending all tracks to my members and getting them ready because they're gonna have to do their own personal because like I said we're kind of spread out. So we're gonna probably October. We're gonna set up the first rehearsals weekend where we're just literally gonna knock out all the songs and like spend as much time as we can, and we'll probably be down in LA doing this. And then once that's done, the next scheduled event is going to be 1 day of rehearsal, 2 shows. So before the end of the year, I could guarantee you are going to see a Shadowson show because even with me personally watching, sorry, my dog's chewing on a shoe toy. Um, uh, with me personally trying to like do shows and everything like that, like watching these videos and like listening to the demos and stuff that I've created, like that is it's just in pushing me even further to get onto the stage because like I'll go out and play in other bands and everything. And it's nothing against any of the other bands, but like, I'm a front man at heart. So, with seeing them create and do what they do, and I'm just a performing artist of that, and then knowing what I have with Shadowsyn, it's one of those things where it's just like, okay, I need to space out some time, knock this out, and do what I'm supposed to, do what I created because this thing has been sitting for too long and it needs to give birth at some point.
I feel that. So when you mentioned the single that you're going to release, you touched on the subject serial killer. I guess
Mm-hmm.
partially inspired by serial killers. Does any specific serial killer come to mind?
Um, to a degree, I guess you could even go to Dahmer to, even the H. Holmes thing. Because I always
Yeah.
like, listening on the history of that. And I know like you can have people that are watching this, be like, this dude is messed up in the head. But no, I mean, like, with every horrific incident tells a story and you learn from it. So with me, I always like taking like either the darkest parts of myself or the darkest parts of the influences of the world around me and finding a way to portray that to where people understand that, the world isn't kites and butterflies. The world is a very dark place, but we live in that same dark area and we get entertainment of it. So like people go and they'll watch horror movies, right? So if somebody goes out and commits a heinous act, and kills somebody, you're not going to blame Stephen King because they went and watched a movie. I mean, we saw it happen with, Marilyn Manson back during the Columbine shooting. It's like you can't blame somebody that created a dark art form and their way of projecting it or putting it out there in a storyboard or putting it out there lyrically and then say that because somebody took and twisted it and put it in their own perspective that's their fault. So this is pretty much like I've always loved like screenplay writing and going to see performing arts, and I've got an acting coach and things like that. So just like just seeing all these elements, it's like okay, what else can I bring to the table that I haven't done yet? And I think that's kind of like how I mainly have lived my life. Just kind of like exploring more. Because I did the music thing, and obviously still doing the music thing, but I've done the music thing for so long, and then I had friends that were like, oh well, I saw your video, you're be an actor and stuff like that, and I never really thought anything of it. Then I went and talked to my acting coach and everything, and he was like, no, you seriously can, like we need to get this going and stuff. So I'm putting myself in as many different directions as I can without spreading myself too thin. Just because at the end of the day, we only have one life to live, and if I can literally like I live my life off having no regrets. I have bad decisions. I've had things that I'm like, man, I could have done that better, but they make me who I am today. So, whenever my ass is buried 6 feet in the ground, the last breath I take beforehand, I can look back and say, hey, it was good life.
Hey, no, I mean, you only have one life to live, and if you have the ability to create art, and it's available to you and you're able to do as many things as you want, I say the opportunity is there. I mean, you should do it, you know. I mean, I like, as you say, without spreading yourself too thin.
Yeah.
You don't want to do that. Consistency is key, folks.
100%.
So you also touched on films. Does cinema inspire your music or your performance in any way? And I'm speaking for Shadowsyn and any project you're a part of, because you have amazing stage presence. I'll say that. When I was on tour watching you play every night, I was like, man, this guy can fucking perform. This guy's a fucking showman.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, man, and that's kind of like how I kind of grew up, because the first time that I got into any type of outside secular music, and the reason I say secular is I grew up in a private Christian school and everything like that, so my stage name and what became how I call myself, Zer0. So I was 14 years old. I've been going to a private school from that whole time period, even up to the time I graduated. And it was such a small private school that it was kindergarten through 12th grade. And there was only 33 kids between all of those different grades. And so when I was 14, my principal, she found my lyric book of the first band that I started called Darkness Reigns. And
Hell yeah.
right. And so when she found my lyric book, she called me into the office. And she read off, I honestly, it's been so long, so I can't remember what the hell the lyrics even were that she read off to me. But she said, since you're in a secular band, you will amount to nothing and be one big zero for the rest of your life. Those were exact words. So I use that as the biggest motivation for me. I mean, honestly, until probably like close to 30 years old, because I always wanted to be like, you know what, I'm going to show you. And but as you get older, though, you spend so much time trying to prove people wrong, and people that you're holding on to all this pain and anguish from when you were younger, that there's people on my Facebook that are my friends that I went to school with that used to literally like bully me, pick on me, beat me up, and all this stuff like that. And then as we got older, and everybody changes as they get older. Some people don't, but I mean the majority of people change as they grow up. And
Hopefully.
they're friends of mine. They support me and everything like that. And like I held on to the past for so long. And the best phrase that I could ever say is, if you ever want to unlock new doors in your life, don't go to these doors with old keys. And so that's pretty much what I did for the longest time, is I used that name and I held on to like all of that past BS. And I just thought the world was out to get me all the time. And so I always felt that I had something to prove. And then, when I got, close to 30 or whatever, I was like, wait a minute, I've accomplished, for me, like success in the music, business industry, whatever you want to call it, wasn't making millions of dollars or anything. I just I love to travel and I love playing music. So like being a touring musician, like that just felt perfectly, like that was success to me. So being able to do these things, like to me, I was like, I made it. Like for my version of success as a musician, I made it. So everything after that was like, okay, well, that's just extra. That's just whatever, I put my ambition, my due diligence in, and, my desire and drive into. And when I look back at it, I was like, okay, well, this name now means something different. It's not that I have to prove something to tell everybody that I'm not a zero. It's now like I was the zero that you thought was not going to be something. But now, like, I use my real name. Funny enough, outside of playing shows, I use my real name more than anything, which is kind of crazy, because it was funny. I was at a show one time. My mom came to the show, and she was standing behind me, and she kept saying, she's like, Jonathan, Jonathan. And because I'm so used to the zero thing, I didn't even freaking respond to it. And she was like, Zero. And I turned around, I was like, what? And she was like, if I ever have to call you by some other name than the one that I gave you, I'm literally going to smack you. But thinking about it in all perspectives, and like I said, I'm older now. I'm like freaking like 4 years from pushing 40. It's like what legacy is to be left, and it doesn't need to be a name based on like the pain, the anguish. It needs to be on the acceptance that you took, what people told you that you couldn't do, and you suffered through it, and you persevered through it. And then now that name, why people call you that, is now an inspiration to them. And
It's more of a triumphant tale, if anything. Now it's sort of like a symbol for overcoming uh, the odds, I suppose.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, if I can leave at the end of it all, when people that know me hear the name Zer0, they were like, you know what? I watched that dude friggin' do a million different things and just dominate at all of them. And I know that whatever bad things that are going on in my life, all I got to do is, if I need to, I can look at this guy and be like, you know what? It's not that bad. I'm going to make the best out of what I can be within my own self.
It's funny you mention going by your real name outside of music more often. I've sort of been doing the same thing, for years and years. I've been going by the alias Ryan Frankenstein, and I guess now more I'm just comfortable with using my regular name, Ryan Laney. And I've had a lot of fans ask me as to why I prefer, I guess, going by my real name now. And I guess it's not really much of a preference for me on my end. It's more of like, I don't really care. You can call me both.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess when I started Our Frankenstein, I was really big on like fucking Rob Zombie. And at the time, every band had like their last name was like
Yeah,
some part of their band, you know? Yeah, like
exactly.
motionless in white type shit,
Yeah.
Everyone kind of adopted that last name or whatever. And I was kind of just going along with the trend at the time. I still, and I'll admit that, but I still am. I'll do Ryan Frankenstein, Ryan Laney, but I try to keep it just like really, really fucking simple, because now it's like a lot of people are like, well, so you're Ryan Laney, but now you're Nexus. Like, I don't get it. Like, so who the fuck, So I just try to keep it as simple as possible,
Yeah, I mean, but it also comes back to the whole, with the grind of personal branding. It's like people can go work a day job and everything, and at the end of the day, if something happens to you, or heaven forbid, somebody like dies working at a day job, like somebody's going to fill your position or whatever. And we as musicians, we look at like, what's the easiest way to remember me? How can I literally put my best foot forward and saying that this is me, and you're going to watch the grind, you're going to watch the struggle, you're going to watch everything. And with even like you're saying, like Rob Zombie, or like you got Marilyn Manson, who is Brian Warner and stuff. There's a personal branding element to where it's like, what, this entity that I created out of either my stage performance or what I'm trying to represent with my music, that's something completely separated from the person that as the person walking around working a day job, or doing whatever. It makes it easy for you to separate it and be like, okay, well, me as quote unquote, like a Marilyn Manson, is I'm these dark, spooky, like everybody hates me, everybody loves me, but I'm putting it out there and giving my middle finger to the world. When you actually talk to the Brian Warner person of who that same being is, could be very shy, could be very like disassociated from people, but you see them on stage and it's like they're all about the crowd, they're all about the performance. They're you see them in two different lights. And I think everybody wants to have that dichotomy, that yin yang effect, where they can sit there and say that, here is me in my day-to-day life, but here's me just letting loose and being free and being me. And in today's day and age, I think you see people more scared to really be themselves than ever before. And I think with what we do as musicians, and regardless if you use Ryan Frankenstein or Ryan Laney, it to you doesn't make a difference, because you still put that out there to people from your performance on stage, or if you're just talking to them out in public and everything, or if you're trying to have like a business meeting with somebody. And like with me, it's kind of like the same thing as like the business side of things, to where it's like, if I go into a business conference, it's going to be like, okay, my name is Jonathan Price. Like, let's there and say, hey, my name is Zer0. Like, there's going to be the guy across me, like, okay, what's your real name?
Exactly. And I think I'm pretty fortunate to have like Nexus as the character. For those who don't know, the character I play on stage, the guy with the silver face. I'm lucky to have that, because off stage I'm kind of I don't know. I'm not sort of like a rock star type guy. I like movies, you know, I like characters and I like to play one on stage, but at the same time, he's sort of that part of me that wants to get out there and shake his ass a little bit, you know what I mean? It's like that's the part of the little crazy part of me, and it's cool to have that. I don't you know, and I think I'm fortunate to be able to put on a mask and do that, because at the same time, even though I am putting on a mask, and you should know because you've done that as well, that it's not I'm able to reveal more of myself even though I'm behind, you know, covered up in this whole costume, I suppose, if
No,
that's how I
100%.
view that.
I honestly think that, like, when you get into, it's like an actor, right? It's like when you get into character, and that's pretty much what it is like, regardless if you're wearing a mask or you're literally just doing a script or whatever it may be. Like when you get into character, like the whole part of getting into that character is you were like separating yourself from what would be considered, I guess, the real you to what you were trying to portray. And it's very therapeutic, I think, for people to even experiment on those levels, because you see people that go out in their day-to-day life that are extremely stressed out and everything, and they're like, I do my day job, I go home to my family, and then that's my routine over and over and over again and stuff, and they have no outlet. Sometimes they try and find a hobby that they hate just to have something different going on in their life. But I honestly think that people took more time to realize that if everybody has the same 24 hours in a day and you're sitting here trying to live vicariously through somebody else's life, why can't you make that same life happen for yourself the way that you want it? But you might have to adjust and maybe a little uncomfortable. If you wake up at 8 o'clock, you go to work at 9 o'clock, you're there for 8 hours, come home, make dinner, go to bed at an early time, and that's your routine. Well, maybe you might have to get uncomfortable and wake up at like 5 in the morning and then be like, okay, well, now I have 3 hours to like do whatever the hell that I want. What inspires me? What makes me want to do something outside of this? And what could that be? I don't know, because I've never taken the time out to figure that out. And you try and give yourself the excuse that you don't have the time or you don't know how to make it work and everything like that. And it's all BS, because everybody's, like I said, everybody's got the same 24 hours in a day. You are out there touring and being a musician. I'm doing the same thing. There's other musicians, like you look at Trent Reznor from Nine Inch Nails. He was a touring musician. He does film scores. And he's got his hands in different things like octopus tentacles, and people just sit back and be like, well, I don't know how he does that, but I'm just gonna watch what he does. Well, are you gonna be a spectator of your life, or are you gonna be a participator in your life? And that's kind of what it all boils down to.
I knew, and that's a great way to put it. I knew from the beginning that I wanted to do music and be in a band, because I think it was my first like punk show I ever went to. And I know this is a bit of a jump in subject, but it was the first punk show I ever went to. And I'm sitting there in the crowd, and I'm pretty sure it was a backyard show, someone's backyard or garage or something. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, I'm so pissed off. Why am I pissed off right now? I could be doing that. Why am I here in the crowd when I could be the guy playing bass or singing or playing guitar? And I think I knew from then on, like, then that, and just in general in life, I knew from then on that was something that I wanted to do, and that the whole like not wanting to be a spectator type thing, not that there's anything wrong with being a spectator.
No, not at all.
Not all the time.
And I was the same way, like I remember going to Ozfest in 2001 and, watching all these big bands, like, Neil Nino, Coal Chamber, obviously, Ozzy Osbourne and all that stuff. And, but I thought the exact same thing. It's kind of like being a football player and you're watching another, like, two teams play, and you're sitting there showing up in the stands in your football jersey and your helmet and everything. You're like, I should be on the field,
Yeah.
I felt that exact same way too. And, and that was what leads to, why we do what we do. Everything in your life is your fault, good or bad. If you've made great achievements in your life and you've had to, wake up and, end of day, you're like, man, today was a good day. Well, guess what? That's your fault. That's great. And all the bad things that have happened in your life, whatever, that's your fault too. and stuff, and being able to like balance accountability with like the trajectory of like finding a way to have an outlet to release that. I think that is like a key factor. And like, and I honestly think that you probably think the exact same way, is like just being a musician is like the best way for, people like us to express that. And it's something that we enjoy doing. Like that, like that's, in a sense, the quote unquote dream is just being able to have that option, that outlet, that availability to be able to do it, and not be able to just sit back and, like you were saying, and like we were talking about, being a spectator in our own lives, and literally just being a participator and taking the blows, taking the punches, and then also dancing in the field goal line when we make a touchdown. It's like, and I hate that I'm using freaking football references, but
it's almost here, folks. Season's coming.
It is. The only thing I know about football is I had friends. I make a really, I like to cook, so like I make a really good like cheese dip. So for many years, I used to get invited to football parties just because they wanted me to like make my cheese dip and bring it over. I didn't even know who the fuck was playing and stuff. I did see people with jerseys on, and I'm like, okay, so this is who everybody's rooting for, okay. And so I went there for the free food.
Yeah, there you go.
You ever seen Edward Scissorhands behind a counter, like making some shit? Nah, that was pretty much me.
Yeah. That's how I feel. Every friend party, every family party, there's like Super Bowl or whatever the fuck going on. I'm just like, I don't care, but the food's here and the commercials are funny. So
exactly right.
I don't give a shit. I hope the halftime doesn't suck. That's all I care about. Well, I want to know, because this music video that we played prior, very cinematic. Is there any form of cinema or any specific film that inspires you in your art at all? What's your favorite movie is AKA the other question.
So favorite movie, and it's going to sound hilarious. So in 1995, there was this version of Rumpelstiltskin that came out as a horror movie. And I remember, so I was probably like 10 when this movie came out. And the cover absolutely terrified me. And it's funny because when you actually watch the movie, it's a bunch of like cheesy one-liners. So it's about like this, witch that cast a spell on this troll in the 1600s, and then it turned into a stone type of like statue, and then it turned up in like the late night or early 90s, and it's in this antique shop, and this girl buys it and everything. And so troll comes back to life, and it's a bunch of like cheesy one-liners because he's like this old freaking troll from like the 1600s and stuff. Now he's in present day America, and he's like just got stabbed in the face and everything. The lady ran out of the door and everything, and she gets in this Jeep and she drives off, and he's looking out the window, and he's like, a chariot with no horses. And so it's a really, I'll say, it's a really cheesy movie, but I have a soft spot for that movie. And then American Psycho, like Christian Bale version of it, just kind of seeing like two different sides, because you'd always hear about like or like growing up in school, like, oh, if you have piercings or tattoos or wear makeup or wear black clothing or whatever, you're the problem of society. And it was just kind of funny that you see horror movies like American Psycho, and you've got like the Wall Street businessman that is like the quote unquote most trustworthy person in a sense that you could walk up to, and then this dude's gonna cut you in half with a chainsaw. So like I said, I like finding like the flaws of humanity, or movies that make fun of the flaws of humanity and kind of like flip in reverse. So as far as like cinematics and stuff like that, I've always been drawn to horror movies. And I like comedies and documentaries and things like that and everything, but like horror movies, I think I like movies that put you in a different mindset. Because like when I was watching horror movies when I was younger, I lived out in like Freedom, Indiana, which is literally dirt gravel road, Amish people, rabbits running around and stuff. And so like watching horror movies out there, it's like you're in the middle of nowhere and it's dark, you got the lights off and everything, and you're hearing like the tree branches hit the window, and that's what happened in the movie. Right. And you're like, oh, it's like, oh, it's nothing. And then you can't sleep for like, 12 hours because you're like, oh, wait, I'm not going to be a statistic. I've watched this happen. But for movies to be able to put you in a different headspace of the what if always intrigued me.
Have you seen anything new lately? Have you watched any new horror movies at all?
Honestly, new horror movies. I do. I've actually been planning on, and I'm late to the party on so many different things. Like I just finished all the seasons up to when the season that they're getting ready to release next year for the new version of Stranger Things that they did.
Oh
Totally
yeah.
hooked on that. Binge watched that for God knows how long. Um, Totally stoked on that. Can't wait for the next season.
Yep.
I do want to go check out the was it Black Phone.
Yeah, I still haven't seen that one yet, and I'm planning to go to horror nights in Hollywood, and I they have a maze for that, and I need to see that movie before I go there.
Oh, they got dude, you got to send me the dates on that. I'll have to go check that out. Like, I'll take a 5 hour trip to go see the full on experience of that. But
Fuck yeah, dude.
I remember watching the trailer for that, and I was like, man, that's gonna be freaking dope. Like, so, I think closest thing to that, so I've got like my little like chest of weird stuff. So, we went to go see the Scream remake. So I got my little
Ooh.
yeah, so I got a little Scream cup and everything from opening day. So that was really cool. And from watching like the Scream back in the day to what it is now, it's funny that what used to be considered too much as far as like violence and gore and things like that, and now how it's became more like acceptable just to have that.
Yeah. It's almost like a cliche at this point.
Oh yeah, I remember used to watching like like Japanese horror films, like Japanese horror films and producers and everything like that. They have this really twisted way and funny way of using like over excessive amounts of like gore and like graphic scenes and stuff like that. And so like watching movies like that back in the day, and then like to what it was, like you can go back to like 10 years ago. I think like I remember when Saw started coming out, like the Saw series and everything like that. I was like, okay, now this is getting pretty gory.
Aren't they coming out with another one or another? Is it a prequel or something? I don't even know.
Yeah, I've heard different people talk about, and it's weird because, like, with social media today, it's like, for me, like, I'm a freaking like Halloween dork, for example. So, and not saying the movie, just like the season as a whole. So, like, I'm personally excited about the new Hocus Pocus movie. One of the places that I want to go to, I was heading that way on a motivator tour when everybody was asleep, and our driver, or well, I won't say driver, he was our guitar player and he owned the band. So he woke up because the freaking GPS kept saying, make a U-turn, make a U-turn. And I was like literally 20 miles away from Salem, Massachusetts. Like I knew where the burial grounds were. I know where the school was. I knew where all these film locations were. And I was like, okay, well, we can spend like an hour or two here and then we can still make load in. And he woke up and he was like, pull over. I'm driving and everything. So I lost out on that. But so Salem is definitely on my to visit list for vacation. And then until then, like I said, I grew up on the Disney Channel type of stuff during Halloween time. So like what was it, Halloween Town and Hocus Pocus, and so like all the dorky Halloween movies and stuff like that compared to the horror movies I watched. So like I expanded as much as I could when it came to horror movies and Halloween type of stuff. And
Do you remember a movie called Phantom of the Megaplex? It was on Disney Channel.
Holy yes,
Yeah,
dude, yes.
that's
Phantom
that's an obscure one.
Yes, it's like a Phantom of the AMC. Like
Yeah, I used to work at a movie theater, so that shit freaked me out. I'd be like, I'm trying to remember what the cast was here because I remember there was a guy in that movie. I'm gonna be doing some research here.
oh no, feel free,
folks. To the listeners out there, Phantom of the Megaplex. It had fucking Mickey Rooney was in it, and he was the Phantom. Turns out he was just some crazy guy who was obsessed with the movie theater, and he was like living there.
Yeah.
Man.
Dude, all those movies back then were freaking awesome, dude. Like, do you remember like the Ernest movies?
Oh yeah, of course,
dude.
Yes.
Ernest Scared Stupid.
Yeah,
dude.
I think that's on Disney Plus. I'm not sure,
dude. Right, dude.
I gotta see that shit.
Make a plug. Shout out to Disney Plus for bringing in awesome '90s movies.
I know, seriously.
Oh no, I used to watch that all the freaking time, dude.
Man, that's the good stuff, man. I would say because Halloween is right around the corner. I know I'm hyped for a couple of things right now. I know we're getting off subject from the music here, but this is just
This is
the show is
just
the
as
shit
important.
show. It's important. Yes. I mean, I'm planning on going to all the horror nights stuff, so I've been keeping up with everything. And the one thing I'm most intrigued on, personally, because I'm a fan, is they're doing a weekend maze at Horror Nights this year from the
What, bro?
yeah.
We gotta meet up and go.
Let's do it, man. I'm getting my pass renewed. Actually, I have a pass, but it's expired, so I'm getting that shit renewed, and I'm planning on going at least more than once here.
Oh yeah.
You let me know, bro. I'll
Oh,
be
dude.
here.
Yeah, dude. As soon as we get the dates or whatever, I will definitely shoot you a schedule, dude. We definitely got to go.
Fuck
100%.
yeah. Hell yes. Well, we're reaching the end here of the show. I wanna thank everyone who's sat through this with us. Shout out to where's my hand Zer0 here for joining us. Before we leave, how can people check you out? Do you have any tour dates coming up? Is there anything you can announce? Anything going on in the world of Zer0?
So Cultus Black, band I help out and assist. They are literally going to be going out with Dropout Kings. So this will be September 20th through September 30th. So we got a small little like 10-day, 11-day run there. And then I think there's going to be a second Road to Hell tour coming up that you can see Seven Factor on, which you also see me playing bass on. And then after that, I'm going to take a little time off towards the end of the year, get all the Shadowson stuff finished, and be able to get a live show out for you, all of you guys out there. And then going into 2023, I'm unfortunately under an NDA agreement that I cannot talk about this, but I can say that you're going to see a pretty freaking cool announcement come after the first of the year regarding me and another band that I'll be joining. And I know as much as the track record of what I already have, but it'll definitely be killer, and I definitely think that you all be stoked to see it. So definitely look forward to that. And like I said, between now and then, just try and get as much stuff done with getting my company, in prep for the relaunch with Main Stage Music Group, and then doing the Shadowson stuff, and then going out on the road and doing the stand up comedy stuff on the side. So stay pretty busy. So you can definitely find me if you want to find out updates on anything that I've got going on. You can follow me on Facebook. You can follow me on Instagram. I'm setting up my own YouTube channel, so you can look up Jonathan R. Price on YouTube, and you'll start to see more. I think I've got a video up on there right now, but you'll start to see more videos to where I'm pretty much vlogging all the things that I've got going on. So you'll see more behind the scenes stuff than you'll see on Facebook or Instagram or anything like that. So you'll get a lot more bang for your buck, I guess, if I could say, on the YouTube channel.
Beautiful. I'm gonna try to catch you on one of these dates you guys coming up. In case nobody knows, Our Frankenstein will not be on the second run at the Road to Hell tour, but another cool band is, and I don't want to say anything because I don't know if there's a formal announcement. So, but hopefully I catch you guys on whatever state that's close to me. So maybe I'll try to come out and check you guys out. But once again, Zer0, you've been tuning into the Cybernetic Séance Podcast. My name is Ryan Laney, aka Ryan Frankenstein, aka Nexus. You guys have been so beautiful. Thank you so much. I'll see you again next week. Our guest next week is Grim. I think you remember Grim. He played a couple shows with us. So yeah. So we got Grim coming through next week. Anyway, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Cybernetic Séance signing off. Goodbye.